like を使って間違っている人が意外と多いんです。またまたスコットが変なこと言ってるよと思ってる人がいるかもしれないけどこんなシンプルな単語でもきちんとマスターしないとダメです。例えば You look happy や You look like happy とかね。あとは何でしょう、He looks middle-aged He looks like a middle-aged とかね。こういった割とベーシックな文章でもポロッと口から出てこない人も少なくないと思います。一瞬どっちだっけとなった経験がある人はほとんどだと思います。今回はこういったトピックが役に立つかなと思ってテーマにしました。So, I hope you like the look of what you've seen so far. We'll analyze the problem, the reason, the solution, and some example sentences. Off we go! First, let's look at the problem. You look like happy. You look like happy. It's nearly there. It's got all the promise of being a good sentence, but something went wrong. I've often wondered why even advanced speakers trip up in this one. I realize that it might not seem all that big of a deal to you, but for me, there's something very frustrating about having studied a language for years and years, but still not being able to use a particular structure smoothly. Especially when it's something as basic as this. Time for a bit of well-earned R&R. Tough day? Yeah, I had 4 meetings today. 4 meetings? Were they online or face-to-face? 2 were online and the other 2 were in person. And then you've got that long commute. An hour and a half each way. You look like tired. Tired? Who's this person called Tired? That's a funny name. You look like tired. I've been told I look like Russell Crowe before, but no, not Russell Crowe. You look like tired. Now I see what you mean. I look tired. That's what I said. No, you didn't. Did you? English is funny. By using one word too many or one word too less, it can change the whole meaning. As we saw in the skit, there was a bit of confusion, but they got there in the end. Let's take a closer look about the reasons why this kind of thing happens. I want to break this down into the simplest form possible to make sure you can get a nice, clear understanding. Focusing on the word look, there are 3 basic structures that I'd like to review and compare. The first one is look plus adjective. 何々のように見える. You look happy. The second one is look like plus noun. 何々に似てる. He looks like his brother. The third one is looks as if plus clause. 節の内容のように見える. That boy looks as if he's been playing in the sun all day. You can also use as though. That boy looks as though he's been playing in the sun all day. Point 1. These days, in more modern English, looks like is used a lot instead of looks as if or looks as though. That boy looks like he's been playing in the sun all day. But you can use all 3 interchangeably. It's not such a big deal. Point 2. I have found that a lot of Japanese learners have the tendency to use these in the third person. What I mean is that they add on the letter S no matter the situation by saying something like, you looks like your brother. Whereas it should be, you look like your brother. I have a strong suspicion that the reason for this is that most people learned looks like as kind of a set in their school days, and it just kind of stuck. Anyway, take a look at this next slide just to reconfirm and check everything. First person singular, I look like my brother. First person plural, we look like our brother. Second person singular, you look like your brother. Third person singular, he looks like his brother. She looks like her brother. Scott looks like his brother. My dog looks like his brother. Third person plural, they look like their brother. Now we've looked at the correct ways to use look. I've got 3 more points that I think you'll find useful and good for a review. Point 1. A topic which I have found comes up quite a lot in conversation is age. Especially when we're looking at family photographs or talking about famous celebrities. When we're talking about people in terms of how old or young they look or don't look, yes, I know it's a very dangerous area. We often use looks older or looks younger. He's 75, but he looks younger. She's only 14, but she looks older. I'm 68, but a lot of people say I look younger. Let me give you some sage advice. Sage. I've found that a lot of Japanese learners directly translate this kind of thing into English. And it just sounds really weird. Wakai! You are young. What? That just sounds too direct in English and might even make some people angry by sounding sarcastic or bitchy. It's better to say, you look so young.
Oh, thank you.
You look great for your age.
You think so?
You don't look a day over 50.
Get out of here.
Point 2. Another thing that I'd like to touch on is that the 3 different ways of using look can be used in the past tense. In fact, it's a really common way to use it. She looked delighted when she won the bingo game. My grandmother looked like Marilyn Monroe when she was younger. He looked like he hadn't slept a wink on the plane. Point 3. Another really useful one that beginners often find confusing is changing look for sound, taste, feel, and smell. Sound. You sound kind of down in the dumps. My brother sounds like me, especially on the phone. It sounds like you had a good time. Down in the dumps means to feel kind of depressed and sad. I feel down in the dumps. Taste. This pumpkin tastes really good. People say frog meat tastes like chicken. The cookies tasted as though a kid had made them. Feel. The leather seats in his car feel luxurious. Her hair feels like silk. His belt felt as if it was made of plastic. Smell. That pizza smells awesome. My cologne smells kind of expensive. Brian's feet smell like he hasn't showered in a week. When you don't want to use sound, taste, feel, or smell, you could just go ahead and use seem. So it's kind of vanilla in that it doesn't really point to any particular sense, but when you want to say nani nani no you da, you can just go ahead and use seem. He seems like a nice person. Okay, maybe not. When I show people a picture of my big brother, they always say he looks younger than me. So you can see I used big brother. So I almost never hear any of my students saying this. And almost 100% of the time, they say older or younger brother or sister. But when you think about it, you have so many affectionate names for brothers and sisters in Japanese. It's the same in English. I always think it sounds kind of cold and distant when you say older or younger brother or sister. But yeah, that's just my take on it.
That sandwich looks nice.
And it smells even better than it looks. Hands off. It's all mine. There you go. So that's a great expression. Hands off. It means don't touch my stuff or don't touch me. So it's used a lot for food, but it's kind of an aggressive way of saying it, as you can see from the Japanese translation. It's not a kind way of talking. Hands off. But you find it like, I don't know, like a security guard or like a police officer or like brothers and sisters or just like people who have a really close relationship with each other. So if someone says hands off, you probably know there's a fight just about to start. Hands off! Learning to play the guitar looks like it takes a lot of patience, but the feeling of playing a song perfectly must be amazing. If something takes a lot of patience, then you have to practice regularly. So don't think automatically that it means something like gamanziyoi or like gamansuru, that kind of thing. In this case, it just means you never give up and you work really hard and eventually it all pays off. I suppose the same thing applies to learning English, right? What's this? Your homework looks like a dog's dinner. Do it again, but take your time with it. If something looks like a dog's dinner, then it is messy and doesn't look good at all. It's a British English expression and it's often used for messy writing, messy hair, or when something is sloppily done. It looks like a dog's dinner. What famous person do you look like? So it's funny, when I first arrived in Japan, some people told me I looked like George Michael, which I could never understand that one. But these days, I just look like a typical British oji-san. If you go to the UK, you'll find loads of people who look like me. You'll probably think it's me. Oh, what? Scott's over there. There's another Scott. Oh, there's Scott. Oh, there's lots of Scots around here.